You mentioned the NELK Boys. This is via Media Matters. Their videos are laser targeted at men, for those who are unaware of who the NELK Boys are. Women are typically only included in videos as props. This lifestyle, coupled with the group's right-leaning bias, has led the NELK Boys to join forces with extreme misogynists and incel-aligned figures. The group has put out prank videos promoting anti-immigrant, anti-LGBTQ plus and racist values. They mock trans people. In one prank, they offer free beer to people who they thought were immigrants before tricking them into thinking that officers from ICE were coming to deport them. They are really ingratiated in the manosphere, Bradley Martin, red pill style of content. And correct me if I'm wrong, they really were aided by Dana White over the pandemic, not that it's over, but over the pandemic, when the UFC felt like they needed content to be done, so they gave them passes to run wild and shoot content wherever they could.
That is basically my understanding. Can I confess I've never seen a single NELK Boy video?
Yes, happily. I've only seen it because of my other job, where if they're interviewing like Candace Owens or they say something crazy that and if it gains legs, then it's something that I've reported on in the past. That's the only reason that I've ever sat down for some of these. But to give the audience an understanding, they've hosted Candace Owens, Donald Trump Jr., I mean, pretty much anybody on the right, you name it.
Yeah. Like I said, there's a lot of lost men. And the thing I always try to explain to people is I don't know what kind of lives these guys lead privately and to what extent it mirrors the one that they put out in the world. I'm sure that there are some meaningful differences, although I'm sure that there are probably awful people behind the scenes as well. But, you know, it's not a real life advice for anybody else. I mean, this is one thing, like, I'm not some kind of Casanova or anything. I've been married, let's see, I'll be married 13 years this year. You know, I'm not some kind of genius that, I've got it all figured out. Life is hard. Sometimes marriage is hard. But one thing I can say very, very confidently is it's a lot easier to form all kinds of different bonds with women if you actually like them. This is one thing that young men seem to think, that they think it's some kind of issue of like domination, trickery, subjugation, some forms of abuse as control. And it's like, not only is that not appealing for them, and this is where you're going to get, the quality of partner you're going to get in any kind of person who tolerates that, it's probably going to be a little bit low. But then more to the point, like, this is not going to be nurturing for you either. You're not going to get much from this either in any kind of way that is, helping you to a healthier and happier place. We know this. And so it's like anything that they can show, it's all just about, I don't have to tell you anything about the NELK Boys that description doesn't already tell you. But the thing I just try to drive home to audiences, to the extent that I can reach them, is like, just to be very clear, this is real bad for you. And they don't see it that way. They see it as like a taste of power. Mm-hmm. And we have to talk them out, or more than that. But I'm using the word talk as like a sort of a figure of speech here about a broader effort. But we have to get them out from a place where they can understand that, like, people always say things like, "Oh, the patriarchy is bad for you," and that message doesn't resonate with them. But when I try to tell them, guys, if you want to go on dates with women, you have to like them first. That seems to be one of those light bulb moments that sometimes I can capture a few with them.
Hopefully. There's another name that is fully in, it seems, with the UFC. At least the UFC fully supports him. And that is Kash Patel. This is a rather fascinating angle. He's a former public defender, federal prosecutor, congressional aide, and national security official in Trump's first term. He vowed to go after Trump's enemies in podcasts. He is a avowed conspiracy theorist. Yet when he was floated as an idea, let's say, to lead the FBI, he received support from the likes of Justin Gaethje, Frankie Edgar, Jorge Masvidal, and others. He has floated the idea of the FBI, now that he's leading, partnering with the UFC. He wants to bring in UFC trainers to help agents' martial arts and self-defense. That's via Reuters. Two people briefed on the matter said current FBI agents described the idea as surreal and wacky. Dan Bongino, who is the FBI's deputy director and a huge podcaster, inspired Patel to try UFC training, and he fell in love with it. What do you make of all this? Dana White via Newsweek says that they are dead serious about it. Again, he's a promoter, so he's going to promote his brand. What do you make of all this, Luke?
Nothing. I think it's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life, and I think it's a non-story, if I can be totally honest with you. Uh, the only part of the story that I find kind of interesting is it's a remember earlier in this conversation I referenced to you that like part of what they're doing is becoming like a B2B business where they're just doing this government kind of contracting through tourism boards. Salt Lake City is a big one, as I mentioned, New South Wales, but you could just list a number of places where this is the case. They want to be paid to attend and they want to be paid handsomely, and that's where they're going to go. Again, contracted, guaranteed. I mean, there's some variability in that, but they lock these deals up well in advance. So, in whatever their fiscal calendar is, they have a clear sense of what's coming in and what's going out. It's kind of guaranteed revenue to a degree. To me, it's like another way for the UFC to get government money, right? To just get paid by the FBI to do some kind of. I mean, let me just be clear about something. Obviously, the martial arts in general is for anybody who wants it. Like, totally clear. There is any number of benefits to training self-defense, losing weight, building community with the people you train with, the actual help of self-defense itself. Like, I mean, the benefits are myriad. MMA training is bad for you, right? It's real bad for you. I've done it. It's not good for you. It's not good for your bones. It's not good for your joints. It's not good for your brain. It's not good for your skin. That can be both cuts. I mean, I've had staph infections. I mean, it's very bad for you. You can tolerate it for a certain amount of time, and if you're very good at it, you can make some money at it, but it's bad for you. Like, it's just be very clear it's bad for you. So like either what they're going to do for them is give them like things that are really, really bad for field agents that they don't even, I mean, like there used to be a museum here. I live in Washington, D.C. There used to be a museum called the Newseum, and it was where like the world story or the world history of news was told. It's since shut down. I actually thought it was a pretty cool museum, but one thing they did was they had like a section on like espionage and the world of espionage, and they had Ted Kaczynski's The Real Thing. They brought it in his like the shack that he was living in the woods, and you could see it. You could see everything in it. It was amazing to see. But it's like, knowing how to do a triangle choke was not going to get them any closer to finding Ted. I can assure you. Like that guy was, Ted was a crazy person, but he was a genius, at least very, very bright at a bare minimum. You need a different set of skills to apprehend people like that. Of course, he's something of a unique case, but you understand my point. Like if you're a member of like some kind of SWAT or tactical team, well, that's a different kind of conversation. You might actually need MMA training to save your life or save somebody else's, right? Okay, fair enough. But if you're just like a field agent, this is a complete waste of time. And if you're just going to give them a lighter version, which was the one that would probably be somewhat beneficial, I suppose that's okay. But I would love to see what the government contract looks like that they're going to pay the UFC to do this. It's just another way to funnel money from Trump and his cohorts over back to them. It's a complete non-story in anything that matters for what the FBI is actually designed to do.